Let's introduce our guest.
Yeah, so this morning I've got Maria Valle, who is a senior at Houghton High School, and among other things, she's a two-sport athlete and a 4.0 student planning. We have Michigan, but she has had a really incredible 4 years of time competing at Houghton High School. And Maria, I'm going to let you talk a little more about your story, but needless to say, she's just been inspirational for a lot of reasons. And I think once we get into the conversation a little bit, you'll see why.
Okay. Maria, what sport? Start off telling her what sports and then get into your story.
Yeah, so I mainly do cross country and track at the school. And I started varsity in 9th and 10th grade for cross country, and then 9th grade for track. And now I do that adaptively after an injury in 10th grade.
But let me interrupt her because she's way too modest. So when she was a freshman in high school, she was an elite runner. I mean, she competed in UP finals as a freshman, and I think you were like 6th place. Is that right?
5th place, I think.
5th place in UPs as a freshman. And into her sophomore year, she had this incident and became, limited in her ability to run and move, so she became an adaptive athlete. And not only is she a track and cross-country athlete, but she also skis, does cross-country skiing. So, but I think in what I really want her to she's just too darn modest. That's the problem. Talk a little more about so you've been competing now in track and cross country. Why don't you talk a little bit what that is like?
Yeah, so I do cross country on a hand bike, and that's kind of new this year or last year for the Upper Peninsula. I don't think anybody has seen someone compete on a hand bike. And then in track and field, I use a racing chair, and for that we made a regional agreement that worked out really well where I could score points if I passed like a national standard, and I think it's been going really well.
Yeah. So last year the local ADs got together prior to the track season, and was that last year or 2 years ago?
Last year.
It would have been last year, yeah. And what we did is we all sat down and agreed that, we're going to set a standard, and it was based on a national time standard. Sure. And the para-athlete world is really it's very common, very popular when you get away from small-town USA. I mean, it's a big deal out there how big Paralympics are, and so there's a huge group of people that compete in this way, and times are established. So we knew what a good 100-meter dash time would be for Maria. We knew what a good 200-meter or 400-meter. I think you did. Did you do 3 events last year, or throughout?
I did 100, 200, and 400.
100, 200, 400. So she had times established, and if she could attain the time, the benchmark, she then would earn a point toward her team score.
Now, is it sort of like the decathlon? The lower you go actually in time off of that standard, she could get bonus points?
That we didn't do, but that's a good idea.
Yeah, because points in track are based on first, second, third,
right?
And everything.
Yeah. Well, and so one of the reasons we wanted to have a conversation this morning here was Maria's been a pioneer in a lot of ways, and she has taken it upon herself to put together a plan that we've already submitted to the state of Michigan. Okay. And maybe you can talk a little more about that, Maria.
Now we're talking the MHSAA?
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so I've been working with multiple experts from all the country to create a proposal so adaptive athletes can count in track. And we kind of use the basis of my regional agreement. So if there's only one athlete, if they pass the national time, they get a point. And if there's more than 2, then it's first place gets 1 point and so on.
When you race, are you on the track by yourself, going against the clock, or did they set you up in the lanes anyway? So
last year I was the only athlete, so I just raced with the other 100-meter dash sprinters, but I was racing against the clock. But in this proposal, if there's only one, they can go with the rest of the athletes. But if there's more than one, then they would have their own heat.
Their own heat and everything else. the time that you would set to earn a point versus the time that the regular runners would go? Is it faster, slower? I mean,
It's a good question, actually.
yeah.
Go ahead.
For the sprints, 100 meter, 200 meter, it's usually slower because it takes a while to get started. But once you reach like 800 or the mile, it's faster just because you got that momentum when you're rolling.
Okay. And a lot of it, I'm guessing, is arm strength.
Yeah, it's almost completely arm and shoulder.
I'm looking at your arms. They're just, those biceps are just so big. They were hard. She almost took the door off when she came in the doorway.
Right. Yeah, there are many categories in the para track and field. So it's T54, I believe, is the...
T34.
Or T34. Okay, so there you've seen, blade runners, and, so these are all categories for different disabilities. And so Maria's in the T34, which, it's inspirational. And I think that's what I've really watched and observed, and not just watching how our student athletes embrace and I guess just it's a great example for them to see the courage and the commitment and the passion for a sport, being able to, see somebody who wants to compete. And that's what's really been not just for Maria, all the benefits and the positives, but for everybody, really.
Definitely. Cross country, are you with the Ski Tigers or is it okay?
With the Ski Tigers.
So how is it, because that is not an MHSAA sport, but how does it work with the Ski Tigers?
Cross country skiing is a much more individual sport, so I just have my own adaptive race where I get first, second, third in, and for state finals they have a category for me.
Fantastic.
And but I can't qualify for any national events in Michigan. Yes.
So we want to talk a little bit about the petition, though, right?
Yeah. So how are you going to get this done?
So our school already submitted the proposal, and I'm trying to meet with other ADs from downstate, like from Ann Arbor, so they can also submit a proposal for their school, the same one. And we also have a petition online, which kind of gets the word out about what we're doing and kind of shows that a lot of people support this and it should be set as a statewide standard.
Yeah.
How do we get to it?
Well, I think, there are a lot more para athletes out there than what people realize, and it's or potential athletes who are in a similar situation who maybe don't even know that this is an option. So the more para athletes we can get involved, the better, and the more likely it is that there would be a specific category or a meet specific to for the para athlete. And I think that's right now just getting more athletic directors across the state aware that we're trying to make this happen. And understandably, it's a big commitment from the MHSAA to do this. But I will tell you that they've been receptive and they're listening, and they're going to put a committee. In fact, in January, there's going to be a meeting, and this is on the agenda. So it's very possible that we'll have something in place for the spring. And if not, we're doing our part to try to make it happen.
Well, let's do that. And then if people want to see the introduction of this towards the MHSAA, where do they go? What websites?
Go ahead.
Our petition the slogan is "I am an athlete too," and it's on change.org.
Okay. And it has an explanation, and then people can actually sign it, right?
Yep, they can.
Okay, give it one more time. People are asleep at this time of the morning.
It's called I am an athlete too, and it's on change.org.